Hello and welcome to HBR Vantage Points. My name is Lillian Fleury with HBR Consulting, and today I'm joined by Kevin Clem, HBR's Chief Commercial Officer, and we're going to talk about change. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you, Lillian. Great to be here.
Kevin, Chris Petrini-Poli told us recently that one of the most important lessons from the pandemic is that change can be good. But there's been, of course, a lot of change lately, and it's been coming very rapidly. So give us some guidance about how legal industry leaders can focus that change.
Well, yeah, as you said, Lillian, there's a lot of change that we're experiencing right now, and not all of that is change that we are choosing. A lot of it is more of a coercive change, as the researchers say, versus participatory change, where you get to choose how you modify and how you change. So in terms of the participatory change, the things that we can focus on as legal organizations, whether that's a leading law firm or a law department, it's really about innovation, which is a word that we've heard a lot recently, but having to do things in a different way than you've done them historically. And identifying what are the areas that have been required of you, but also that you can then prioritize yourselves that will align most closely with your clients' needs. So whether that's the organization as a whole, if you're an in-house law department, or your corporate law department client, if you're a law firm, how can you align with what is the important change that you can make to better serve your client? And focusing on that first to give you a springboard to hopefully things that not only are required of you, but will tee your business up to focus on your core strengths and align with your client expectations over time.
So what about change fatigue? I think people are getting tired of all of this change. How can legal industry leaders help their teams and themselves deal with that?
Yeah, I think to your point, there's a lot of change. And the good news is change is not new. This has been studied and researched for quite some time. We often will quote Harvard's research led by John Kotter about an 8-step change process. And it talks about an urgency, a sense of urgency at the outset, which is what we all see right now, certainly urgency of a need to change on a global scale. But then also understanding where you are in your overarching change journey, right? Is it early stages where it's perhaps fear that's driving the change? Often, significant changes that are made in our lives are driven by some urgent need that's surfaced. Obviously, a global pandemic would fit into that category. But as the time goes on, and we realize there's going to be probably still many more months of changes afoot, how can you understand where you are in that kind of change process? And in some respects, it's not dissimilar to Kubler-Ross's research around the stages of grief. Are you in denial? Are you in anger or depression? Are you starting to come to an acceptance of that? So thinking through a recognition of, yes, we have a lot of change around us. Yes, there's a lot of things that continue to evolve, but realizing that in many respects, this is the new normal, is a constant state of change, and thinking about processes and frameworks you can apply to that, such as Kotter's framework, and then recognizing where you are on that change continuum.
How can we take the lessons that we've learned now or that we are learning during the pandemic about change, and how can we carry those forward?
No, it's a great point, because one of the final stages of Kotter's change framework is institutionalizing the change. How can you make this process, this way of thinking, these things that we've approached, whether it's a process change or a technology change or a structural change or a cultural change, how can we take that and make that part of the new fabric? So the things that we've been required to do over the last coming up on 12 months in the work from home environment, or the need for social distancing, how can we take the lessons that we've learned from this time and apply them as being part of that institutional knowledge, that institutional fabric, once we get through this current challenge that we're facing with the pandemic. So it's thinking about identifying what are those areas that you want to hold on to, and being thoughtful to articulate what those are. Maybe it's 2 or 3 things that you said, you know what, this is how we used to do things before this phase. Here's things that were required of us now. Recognizing those, memorializing them, and then making them part of the institutional knowledge, the institutional fabric of the law department of the law firm going forward.
Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate your time.
Pleasure. Absolutely. Happy to talk about this topic at any point in time. Thank you for setting up this series.